Great. So I hope everybody was able to have a good holiday break and some restored energy for all of the big work that's going on. So I just wanted to, let's see, in today's meeting, I think just we have our monthly Housing Stability Council meeting this Friday. So I want to kind of talk through what we will be covering and any other kind of things going on. And then certainly if folks have questions or other things that you'd like information on or that we can provide either now or in a follow-up, we can go, open up for questions and discussion. Okay, so just seeing that there's still a few folks joining. So this Friday's Housing Stability Council meeting, we have a bunch going on, and I was just going to put into the chat here for any, sometimes folks ask, maybe do I not have, no, there's the chat, okay. Just the council page, oh, I wasn't there, okay. So Housing Stability Council this Friday, we have a couple project recommendations, one 4% transaction, Terracina Vista, and then one project coming out of the Veterans NOFA that didn't get to Housing Stability Council last month. So let's see, Dan, I see the live transcript feature. Show captions. Okay, Dan, I think I have added the transcript. I was trying to not look at my words at the same time. That's hard, disorienting. But that's a great suggestion. Thank you. So the one Division Street project is recommendations from the Veterans NOFA, and that project was coming out of the Veterans NOFA, which otherwise went through council last month. This one's coming back with a project update. We then are going to be bringing a couple updates on factors around our funding process. The first is our pre-development framework. This is information that we are using to hopefully work towards launching our pre-development resources. So, and for kind of as a reminder and kind of a framing when we are bringing programmatic frameworks, kind of to date, what we have done is done a lot of generative conversations. In order to get a framework incorporated, we do 1 month where we are bringing it as an introduction item to get Housing Stability Council questions, concerns, input, direction to be able to inform it. And then ordinarily we bring it back again in the future, either the next month or 2 months later, or sometimes a lot longer, to be able to finalize that framework. I think as we were reflecting on all of the various input that we have received through our engagement around funding processes, that the pre-development was, first of all, was something that we want to be able to launch as fast as possible. And it's also pretty well, I think that there's a lot of substance and a lot of inspiration both that we use to inform that. And so I did just put a link into our resource redesign webpage where all of the engagement materials have been tracked. And then we have in there, as you scroll down, you'll see the beginning kind of initial programmatic framework. And in our Housing Stability Council packet, there's more information around that, and including kind of where we have evolved in response to the input, and again looking to bring that to Housing Stability Council for their input before we are bringing something to be able to be approved. We are also bringing an update on our diversity, equity, and inclusion agreement. This isn't really a programmatic framework. It is an update on that process. We have, in recent years had what we call our DEI agreement that have had, when you're applying through a NOFA on a project-specific basis, had teams, sign and provide a DEI agreement, which is then, essentially asking organizations to prioritize doing work in diversity, equity, inclusion at their organizations. This shift we have done also engagement on. You'll see some initial materials on that on the engagement page, but it is to kind of fundamentally switch those DEI agreements from a per project basis to a per organization basis, and then also ask for reporting to happen so that you are able to understand, not just, don't just ask for your signature on it, but to get some information back from folks on the work that you're doing internally in your organization. OHCS is also engaged in our own ERJ and DEI work internally with staff trainings. We're stood up our Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion office that Chelsea Bunch leads, and she's working on expanding those staff and the roles. ARH Division has initiated our own staff training and education component and webinars and meetings and conversations. So really excited that we are really feeling like we're moving this work forward internally as well. And so I think, shared experience of the real critical need for this work to happen, and how we see it, where we have invested in this work internally, how it does show up in our work. And so really excited to be able to take this step on the DEI agreement and to support everybody in their own learning journeys. And then, lastly, I will open up for another kind of follow-up conversation with Housing Stability Council around our funding resource redesign. Last month we did, focus, I think, I kind of picked up a lot of this back into our engagement a couple of weeks ago, but we're talking about the, funding process that is in steps where we are kind of evaluating pieces of project applications and then doing conditional commitments and walking that through. And so hoping to pick that conversation back up and see what more insight and information that we can glean from Housing Stability Council. And I think that's really it on the council agenda. Any questions on any of those components?
Hi, Natasha. I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Do you have a timeline yet for the funding calendar coming out?
We are working on it. I think this is the December meeting. I'm hoping that we are able to have a draft of that by the end of the month and then bring it to January's meeting. I really also think we need to get input, share that for input on that. As soon as we have something firmed up. I think we're just kind of trying to resolve around some kind of fundamental questions around how we do the resources in this consolidated fashion. But so I'm hoping that within the month we are sharing at least a first stab at the calendar to be able to say that. I think my goal is that we are able to open resource offerings, end of March, early April. So ideally in the first quarter, but I think understanding that it'll be a lift to get that into place. But I think that's when I would expect we have offerings open. I think that another piece related to that is that there is also in the Housing Stability Council packet, I think, maybe it's part of the deep dive discussion. But I do think Caleb Yant, our deputy director, will be coming to talk about our kind of implementation plan around all of our legislative investments, and that will then be able to share some of the timeline considerations across all of the different 2023 legislative investments. And then we'll see what comes from 2024 session.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, and then let's see. I think Rick has wants to share around the modular RFA. Rick?
Thanks, Natasha. I just wanted to let everybody know that we did release the RFA for the $20 million of modular expansion or creation funds. That was released in November. I think the deadline to apply is December 15th, 2023. I'm gonna hopefully drop in the chat the requisition in Oregon Buys. You do have to apply through Oregon Buys now, and all the information would be located within the Oregon Buys system, and that link should kind of at least take you to the requisition, so you can check out the materials and see what the requisition number is. But again, that I think deadline is December 15th, 2023 at 4 p.m. To apply. I also, while I have the microphone, will throw out that last month we brought to council risk mitigation pool resources. We'll hope to bring that back in January. If we haven't already, there should be a technical advisory coming out about a one more engagement session that's available. So please look for that. If you want more information, feel free to send me an email. I'll drop my email in the chat. But that's for risk mitigation pool resources. We're having one more engagement on that. Thank you.
Got myself unmuted. Thanks, Rick. And again, just for thanks for sharing the link on that RFA. It is a little non-traditional, that RFA for us, so it's not funding specific to projects, but it is to modular production facilities. And so the idea being that those will be able to ramp up businesses to be able to be deployed through affordable housing investments and others. Great. And then PSH risk mitigation, another engagement. Thanks for posting that, Amy. Any questions around those items?
Yeah, yes. Hi,
Oh yeah,
Natasha.
hi Adam. Yeah.
Hi, sorry. Adam Briggs in Brookings, Oregon. I wanted to ask Rick, I thought I had read on the modular, the 20 million for the modular housing production. Was that going to be limited to just 5 entities in the state? Or is that a misread?
Actually, yeah, it's a good question. I think we're probably looking at 4. There's $20 million. We're maxing the applications out at 5 million. It is possible that we could have folks come in and ask for 2 or 3 million, and then we'll take as many applications up to the $20 million maximum. So, you know, we could fund 10 folks if everybody asked for 2 million, but we only have 20 million and we maxed it out at 5. By the same token, if you need more than 5 million and we don't get enough applications, there is the ability for you to request more dollars. Just know that if we have enough folks offer that meet our minimum qualifications, we would top that out at 5 million for each applicant if there's enough folks to request that. Does that answer your question, Adam?
Yeah, thank you. And is it the RFP, if you will, is it really? I didn't, and going to Oregon Buys, I didn't see any guidance on. Is it just pretty much wide open, whatever an entity provides as far as a proposal, or is there a framework from which to fill out an application?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm glad you asked it, Adam. There is a framework. There's a bunch of attachments listed there, and that'll walk you through what we're requesting. I believe in those attachments, one of them is an actual like application, and we'll have specific questions that we'll want you to respond to. We want those questions, those responses limited to no more than 25 pages. There's additional addendums and attachments as well. You don't have to count those to your 25 pages. It's just the application page itself. So that's what we're looking for. Make sure you check out all of those attachments that are listed in that and on that Oregon Buys website. And if you need additional assistance, I believe the contact person is Holly Oglesby, and she is our RFA contact, and I believe she can provide you with instructions if you needed additional assistance.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for the question.
Great. Any other questions? I guess I see in the chat, Sarah, your question around 4% and 9%. I think so, which is the question of when will they be offered next. I think first just to share that the 9% NOFA did close, and those applications are under review. So more to come soon. The 4%, Angela, or are you on it by any chance? Angela Peralta?
Hi, this is Angela.
I think if anything you can share around the status of the 4%, the private activity bonds for 2024. I think that would be great. I think in terms of the next opening for private activity bonds for 2025 is still to be determined. So I don't know that we have information on that, but I think probably anything you have to share on the programming for 24 would be great, Angela.
Sure. Hi, everyone. This is Angela Parada, Senior Tax Credit Programs Manager. We are underway reviewing the 23-10 NOFA, which allocated quarters 2 of 2024 through quarter 1 of 25, assuming we can actually stretch resources that far. We had approximately 27 applicants, and we expect to turn around notification of recommendation of award by mid-December. Things are, of course, strapped capacity-wise, but I think we're still on course to let folks know by the second or third week of December. And that would assign tentatively resources for 2024. So the next offering, much to us, Natasha was elaborating on, the next set of resources really are still pending programming, and would advise folks to keep a watch on technical advisories to make sure you are first to get notified. And folks are always welcome to reach out to me or to Ty, our Assistant Director of Production, for additional information or as questions arise.
Great, thanks, Angela. I think the other thing of federal resources, the Home ARP, we had American Rescue Plan resources, those and capacity resources that were offered, that NOFA has closed. I think there is one application for development funds that is getting, moving through the process, has not yet come to approval for Housing Stability Council. But so that review is ongoing. And as I recall, and I don't know, Andrea Mathiasen, if you happen to be here, but there are several organizations that are seeking to access capacity resources to engage in that work, and the balance of the Home ARP resources will be held for a period of time to give those organizations another, more opportunities to come with their development proposal before we open those resources more widely. So Andrea, if you're here, if you have anything else that you'd want to add to that.
I think you pretty much covered it, Natasha. We're hoping to take both the single development request to Housing Stability Council along with any awarded capacity building resources both in January. And so I think at that point, we will be able to provide a really detailed update on the amount of Hallmark development resources that would be available for the folks who are awarded capacity building dollars for the next 24 months. So, but I think you provided a good update. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Andrea. And I think that's all on my list for the most part. This Thursday, we will be doing a follow-up discussion on the LIFT or Article 11 Q bonds, and those are used to fund both our PSH development as well as our LIFT development resources. And we will, I think to a tremendous extent on the rental side, really have updated what will become template documents that have been able to be used to close several projects, including with local lenders, national lenders, and it feels like both we've been able to create the base and then have proof of concept. We'll also be bringing into that conversation the homeownership use of that resource, which is going through its own process to be able to understand how to work, continue that work of LIFT homeownership development as we have have some change in context, of course, increased resources, all of the same factors, increased resources, increased use in homeownership, and that model is a little bit different. So we'll be doing a little bit of kind of just checking in broadly around all of those things on Thursday, and a technical advisory went out. Thank you. Amy just posted it. And let's see, Marcus, I see your question in the chat around the veterans NOFA recommendation. We did bring, or Ed Brown brought last Housing Stability Council the bulk of the recommendations out of the veterans and small project NOFA. There is one remaining project that had an update that needed to be addressed before we brought it to Housing Stability Council, and that one will be brought out pretty soon, or this Friday. We'll bring in the last project from that NOFA. And then I also see the question around grants for farm worker housing. And we do have resources for development of farm worker housing, including a new legislative allocation of GAP resources to do so, and that will be reflected on our overall funding calendar, that will include when and how we offer those resources in the next couple months. So we don't have anything open currently to be able to fund housing for farm workers. Well, I think all of our NOFAs are at the closing place at this point. I see. Okay, so I see another question that was sent to me on preservation funding. So that the preservation funding, there were a legislative investment of $50 million to support preservation. That will be offered, and it will be put onto our funding calendar. And there's, if you look at the engagement page, there was specific engagement around that. But again, we have not yet published a draft funding calendar about when those resources will be offered. So that is definitely the priority as we move ourselves forward here, but don't yet have the funding calendar to circulate. I'm hoping to do that soon. Any other questions?
Hey, Natasha.
Yeah.
Hi,
Yeah.
this is Ariel from LOC. Sorry if you covered this. Are there any updates? I know you're in the process of recruiting and bringing on like a focused engagement team. Do you have any updates on that timeline in terms of what that will look like or when folks will come on board as it relates to the funding process and your general work?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Yeah, so we are, and I think we, kind of have covered this at some Housing Stability Council meetings and a little bit of our most recent engagement, but as part of our organizational change to support new processes, are doing kind of a organizational shift and creation of some new deliberate bodies of work, which includes an application team. Really happy to report that Ed Brown from our program team is going to be the new manager over a new application team. So really excited about that. Ty Dunson Strain is moved into the assistant director of production role, and part of his team will also be creating and standing up a pipeline and technical advisor role. I know that there is an open, or there has been a recruitment for those technical advisors. I believe we're in early stages of doing some interviews, and we will just see how those goes. But I think let's see, getting an update. We will hope to, I think, wrap up the first interviews with this first group of applicants in December to bring them on as soon as possible. I think, understanding they will, depending on their familiarity with all of the things, OHCS and state resources will inform how fast we are out in community providing technical assistance. But I'm, again, hoping to really we're prioritizing getting those through and onboarded as soon as possible. We will also within the next month be putting out the recruitment for the manager over that new team as well.
Thanks, that's exciting. I
Yeah,
also
it
look
is.
forward to hopefully engaging in whatever that process looks like in the new year. I think and just exploring how your new process, how cities can be more involved and have a stronger touch point with the agency or through the agency to developers, that kind of a thing.
Absolutely. And I know, I think I've had some discussions with folks, and then it also came up at a Housing Stability Council meeting. The idea of doing some kind of testing or modeling, what does it look to try to test something before we are putting it through? And so I know Kim Travis is working to put together some exciting thoughts on how to do some of that work. And I would really love to be able to include public funders and jurisdictions in that kind of perspective. So I'm sure we'll be reaching out, Ariel.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Okay, and so I'm getting so we don't yet have a link to our funding calendar for the next year, or for the next biennia of resources. So that will be coming out in the next, hopefully within the next month. And then Blanca, I see the question on fire survivor funding, and I believe those resources are put out through our disaster recovery group. And so I think likely the best option, I'm trying to think of if we just want to give you the information on how to reach out to that group. I think, let's see, I think if you want to have a question on specific funding sources, just email the housinginfo@oregon.gov and they should be able to direct you to the right team. Great. Okay, well, thank you all so much. Again, welcome back to work, and thank you all for all you do to get housing to those who need it. It's incredible need, and it's important work. Appreciate it. Okay, so, and then I'm just gonna continue chatting, because Robin, I see your question. There is not, there is a, let's see, Angela talked around the 4% bond application. That information should be hopefully coming out in the next few weeks around that process. There is a pre-application, a list on the app on their website around who all applied. And then we are not updating the QAP for 20 right now. Our process, we will do a QAP update in advance of 2025, I believe. Great. Thank you so much.